had another note on the Senate runoffs. Since we're talking about diversity, we should note that Raphael Warnock is the first Black senator to be elected from the state of Georgia, and John Ossoff is the first Jewish senator to be elected from the state of Georgia.
That is so crazy to me that Raphael Warnock is the first, considering there's such a huge Black population.
I swear to God, I didn't even know it till election night. Till someone said it on election night. First, I was like, no. It's like, yeah. And as a matter of fact, he's only the 11th Black senator ever to be elected to Senate. Like, that's crazy to me.
So what's but there's a huge Black representation, or not huge, but there's a better Black representation in regards to representatives for
House of Rep.
The House, right?
Yeah, because House is more local, right? So you have people like John Lewis, like his congressional district is more of like Atlanta, right?
That makes sense. But that's why I thought it was funny when for the mayor for Atlanta, a white lady tried to run, and I'm like, no.
I mean, you can try.
You can try. But it's either going to be a Black woman or a Black man who wins that.
But that's also why it's so crazy that Crowley was the New York 14 rep for so long. When you look at the demographics and it's like highly Puerto Rican. Yeah. So then obviously AOC now represents.
AOC comes and taps into it.
But yeah, so those are more local. But yeah, it's only the 11th Black senator ever.
I will say, touching on the diversity thing, I think I won't be surprised if that happens more often. Only reason being is because, like you said, I think like with Crawley being in that area, that's most of Puerto Rico, right? I think there's always been for the longest time among minorities this idea that why bother because I won't win. And I think that's really starting to change now, where they're like, no, there is a possibility that we could win. People want different. I know, I forgot her name, but there was I don't want to say era.
Cori Bush? Okay, never mind. I thought you were talking about Cori Bush.
I forget who it was, but it was. I remember one person that was running. She was I'm not gonna say a Middle Eastern, but like India kind of.
Are we talking about Senate or House, or what are we talking about?
I think it was House.
What state?
Georgia.
Oh. Woman, yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh, I don't know her name. I know who you're talking about. She's also
progressive too. I know that.
She's from like South Asia.
Yeah, I'll even look at South Asia, Georgia.
But anyway, while you're looking,
it's gonna happen. More and more people are going to be coming. Going into the political realm because they're saying that, like, you know what? People are going to start voting for me. And it's just like, why not? Well, I could win. And I can't find her name. So we're just hopefully that'll be a correction. But anyways.
But it's good, right? It's driving people to feel like they can make a difference. I think one of the biggest things I've tried to do, I know a lot of my friends don't like the fact that my Facebook is like overly political sometimes, but one of the biggest things I've tried to do is help people understand why politics matter, how this senator that you send can affect you on a micro level, not just the country on a macro level. And I think that's what the Democrats have succeeded in doing this time around. I think that's what Trump, to his detriment, succeeded in doing. It was showing that this is what happens when you have a failure of leadership and when you have a failure of accountability. So as long as Democrats can continue to do that, can continue to show people that it matters who you send there, they'll keep winning. The last thing on the Georgia Senate runoffs is that the Dems did send 2 senators to Washington, which gives us a 50-50 split. And that makes Mitch McConnell now the Senate minority leader. Unless there's some change between now and the 20th, I believe that would make Chuck Schumer the Senate majority leader. But really, it's a tie vote. So the real majority leader is
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, yeah, because she's the president of the Senate as vice president of the country.
So I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think the Democrats will go through with some of the stuff that we're hoping they'll come through with, right?
I do.
You do?
I do, because it's actually politically detrimental to them if they do not, because there's no excuse. They've got the House, they've got the Senate, they've got the presidency. There's literally no excuse to not do these things that, you know, the Democratic caucus has been asking for years.
Do you so do you think in 2022, if they don't do any of the stuff that, you know, that we're thinking they're going to do, past the 2000 relief, right? I don't know if they'll include M4A, right? Because a lot of, for some reason, they don't want to, which is still crazy, unless somebody pushes, like, you know, and I mean, like, all of a sudden a movement happens that creates that kind of pressure, which I think right now would be the right time to do it. Is now create a pressure to push M4A, to push all these other progressive kind of ideals that a lot of Americans believe in, right? A lot of people, whether they're Democrat or Republican, they believe in, because then what ends up happening is now they can't, the biggest thing is now they can't fall on the whole, well, we can't do it because of Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's no longer a barrier.
Yeah.
You can't say no. If it's 50-50, Kamala Harris is going to get us the vote. So why are you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are you saying that this can't happen?
Yeah. The only person that can stop it, that comes to mind, is when you were referring to Blue Dog Democrats before, Joe Manchin. He might say, "No, this is too liberal for West Virginia," or something like that. Which, you know, he does strike me as the type to say some BS like that. But yeah,
and
generally,
I would say that now is the time for the ones who are serious, the Democrats that are serious, right? Start pushing those people out. And like, look, and I don't, obviously he's an elected official, right? But what I mean is basically calling him out every single time that you're doing this, to basically let people know he is the reason why we're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because back then they gave too much and back then I'm referring to, what was that, 2006, when Obama ran, it was the White House, the Senate, and the House. Was it
2008?
I'm sorry, 2008. So no, that was 2010 was when he got it. When he got like complete, the House and the Senate were.
No, he had the House and the Senate in 2008, and then they lost it in 2010. They got his famous term. They got shellacked in the 2010 elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back then, I think they gave way too much leeway to those blue dog Democrats, which I think a lot of them are really just Republicans who ran as Democrats because
of the states that they're in.
Yeah, I get a chance to run as a Republican. I get a chance to run as a Democrat. I'll win one way.
So it's got to be one of two things, right? Either the Democrats just have to be really successful in these first 2 years to show even states like West Virginia that, look, this really poor state that you're in, you're going to benefit a lot from our policies. Maybe consider voting Democrat. And by virtue, someone more left-leaning than Joe Manchin can actually primary and beat Joe Manchin. There's this lady, Swearingen, I forget her first name, that ran against Joe Manchin in the Senate primaries in 2018 and lost. But she was like Justice Democrats, right? Like AOC, Cori Bush, like those type of people. She lost, but I think she can run again, a primary Joe Manchin again, and it's up to the national Democrats to show places like West Virginia and all these other poor states that, look, this party you've been pledging fealty to hasn't done anything for you guys. They keep giving all the money to the rich people. This is what happens when the Democrats are in power. We take care of you. Vote for us. If they can do that, you can get Republican Democrats like Joe Manchin out of there and get actual Democrats in power.
Yeah.
So I really do think having control of all three, there is no excuse to not do the things that the Democrats want. Medicare for all, though. I think what Biden will do instead, or what the Biden administration will do instead, is expand Obamacare, like reform it, make it better. A lot of the reason why Obamacare failed in places like Georgia and all that stuff is because they have Republican legislatures and Republican governors who didn't want to do the Medicaid expansion on Obamacare. And without that, and without the mandating that the individuals actually have to get insurance, it falls apart, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work as a state-run thing. It has to be national. It has to be federalized, and that's where the constitutionality comes into play.
So, real quick correction.
Mm.
We haven't done this in a while, so I want you to do correction.
Correct.
The name of the individual, her name is Nabila Islam.
Islam, okay.
Yeah, she ran, and she what's it called? I don't think she was in my district, otherwise I would have voted for her. But I follow her on Twitter. She's cool. I hope she runs again.
Okay, Nabila Islam. So, I'll remember that name. Before we get off the Senate runoff, sorry, I know I said that was the last thing. There was a thing I want to talk to you about, and that's this old idea that in the South, if you run as a Democrat, you can't tie yourself to the National Democratic Party. You can't tie yourself to some of those things that they want that are considered too left radical for the South. Considered radical, right? You have to basically be Republican-Lite to win as a Democrat in the South. I think Ossoff and Warnock showed that wasn't the case. You can run as a proper Democrat and win. Do you think that's correct, or do you think this is just one of those anomaly type of races?
I think the reason why they won was the anomaly part, but depending on how they do, that's when it can become a more normalized thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Obviously there are certain areas that there's a lot of places in Georgia. So the big cities are blue.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Because if you guys go to the AP map for the Georgia for the election results, you zoom in on that map, Savannah, I thought it was red from the stuff that I had heard.
I thought so too.
I really did, because one of my friends lived down there, and he said, like, yeah, man, I heard the N-word more than I heard it ever, in my life. And because he's black, he's like, I've heard that word more often than I ever heard it when I was in Atlanta. But they were very blue. But there's also other states. There's other places like Macon. Was blue.
That was a surprise to me in November. I mean, it's still a surprise, but yeah, Macon's blue.
Because you're from Macon, right? Or no, you're not from Macon.
Me? No, I'm in Marietta.
That's where I met you. So anyways.
Oh, yeah, you met me in Macon. Yeah.
So Macon, Augusta, Atlanta, and then I stated this when we were special guests on the Aftermath for the radio show, is like Metro Atlanta isn't just Atlanta. Metro Atlanta now is basically a big ass donut now. Mm-hmm. It goes all the way north up to Marietta. It goes up north to Norcross. I don't know how south it goes because I'm not really in touch with the southern parts of Atlanta. I think it actually just stops south of Atlanta, like you know what I mean. But it goes up north and expands a little bit west into the Fulton counties and all that stuff. So it's a lot more blue. Mableton,
Marietta, Smyrna,
exactly. So I think if the Democrats are right or are smart, and they start running certain candidates in certain areas, they have a good chance of winning and turning that tide of expanding the possibility of people who run blue to win. And what I mean by that is in Gwinnett, a progressive, I think, can win in Gwinnett. Mm-hmm. Because Gwinnett is just straight blue. It has a high Latino population and a high African American population. I'm really shocked that Marietta, like your area, some parts of Marietta apparently, Lucy Macbeth won in your area.
Well, Marietta is like historically red, which is why when Ossoff was going against Handel and almost actually forced her into a runoff and then almost beat her. People were like, this is strange. Like, the Georgia 6 is supposed to be really red. And then Lucy Macbeth came and won that race twice.
But I lived in Marietta, right? Mm-hmm. And I lived in Marietta when a lot more Latinos started coming in. So Latino population is coming in there. Black population started. Because the problem is, right, you redline us into these certain areas, but then you try to push yourself back in there by gentrification. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you've shoved us into Atlanta. Now you're doing gentrification and pushing us out of Atlanta.
Yeah.
We're going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened.
Watching the returns come in for the election on Tuesday made me realize just how bad gerrymandering is in like, well, especially in like Georgia. You look at because you had all these counties, right? And each county takes care of their own elections, right? So you've got Gwinnett taking care of the election, DeKalb, so on and so forth. So you have all these like Bartow County and all that stuff, small ass counties, quickly sending in their returns, right? So you're seeing, you know, Purdue's lead increase and all that stuff because those numbers are coming in almost 99% and all that stuff. And then DeKalb, we're waiting forever because they have to like give us updates in like big chunks, because they're taking care of like hundreds of thousands of votes in DeKalb County as opposed to like Bartow, which is taking care of hundreds of votes, right? And what I realized is this was done, right? The county district, drawing your counties that way, drawing your districts that way, was done specifically to disenfranchise black voters and black representation, because you have one representative in like Georgia 6 that's like representing, you know, a couple of million, let's say hundreds of thousands of people, and then you have a representative in Collins district, which I think is Georgia 1 or something, that represents like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. But he has the same amount of power as someone representing hundreds of thousands.
And you know what's going to happen is now the Dems do it too. There's going to be more there's going to be redistricting now to try to benefit the Dems. And my thing is, it's fun. It's so funny. I knew this was going to come up because it's going to come up, right? It's an election.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about this myself, and I was like, man, I really wish they made that so much simpler. It's never going to happen. But I just wish they did an overhaul. So whether it's at the state level, if the state just says, you know what, from now on, our districts are going to be literally based on counties. You're not going to have half of so a city here in Georgia, Alpharetta, half of Alpharetta represented by one, the other half of Alpharetta represented. No, this city falls within this county. The whole city is going to be represented by one person.
No, I don't like the representation by county, because there are some counties that are really small.
No, I
really
know,
small
because that's the other thing I was thinking about. Because like say for example, if you were to scale Georgia to the size of the continental United States, Fulton County is the size of California.
Right, exactly.
So no, I definitely I that's what I'm saying. But at least make it easier. Like,
yeah.
Because how many times did you have to search who's my representative to find out who the hell your representative is?
Right. Yeah.
So it's
a lot.
You know, and then it's just so much easier if you were just able to do it, like not within counties, but like say cities based on counties. So, you know, half of the cities in Fulton are represented by, you know what? But
I just feel like, I feel like in the state legislature, Fulton should have more representation. You shouldn't have one person representing Fulton in the state legislature and one person representing Homer, right?
Well, I mean, that's how, isn't that California? Doesn't California
that's exactly the problem with the Electoral College. You have 55 people representing California. You know, it's the 53 people in the House and then 2 senators. And then you have 3 people representing South Dakota. But if you like scale it out, South Dakota has way more representation than California. It doesn't make sense. It never has. But it's the way that they're able to disenfranchise black people, because you just squeeze all the black people, all the Hispanic people, all the people of color into your city centers and say, hey, you've got one representative. And then
that is why I encourage all of my black friends, all of my Latino friends, move out. Start invading.
Degentrify. No,
exactly.
But that's where the jobs are. You know, for like if you're in a lower bracket, those are your only options.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. And it really hit home for me when I was watching those returns and just seeing, you know, I was watching on MSNBC and you see, you know, Bartow County, 10,000 votes.
Were they doing the map where it's like a square for the area? Did they do the map where they literally represent the population? So there's parts of that state that show that this is purely land, this is not actual.
No, it doesn't. No, it just does the square. So you see a lot of red, and you know, people are like, how is it so red but the Democrats won't? It's because all of that is farmland.
And then when they change it to population only, then it makes more sense, because now you have all these blue dots here, but then
Yeah.
now you have all these red dots scattered around.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's just, yeah, no, I mean, our election process, you can, real quickly before we get off this, let us know, is our election process worse than, like, say, South Africa or Nigeria, if you know much about them?
On a national scale, oh no, it's not worse, because at least you can somewhat trust that the count is correct here.
Unless you're Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know. But over there, you never really know, right? Because there's always going to be that in the back of your head, which is why when just a little history lesson, when Goodluck Jonathan in Nigeria lost re-election and like handed over power to Buhari, it was a big deal, because you think the person in power would rig it, right? And he didn't rig it. He lost the election and he handed over power. It was a peaceful transition of power in Nigeria. So, I mean,
how long did that last, the peaceful transition thing?
I mean, Buhari is still president. He won a
Oh,
second
okay, so
term.
this just recently happened.
Yeah. This is,
come on, man, I'm American. You know we don't know nothing about anything else.
This is 2014. That election I'm talking about was 2014.
What's Brexit? I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
So yeah, I think as far as like the national system, I think it's bonkers. The whole electoral college thing, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But on the state level, it's fine, because it's literally who has the most votes. The fact that there isn't a statewide standard on how to do elections, I think that's
there
stupid.
should be definitely a statewide standard, and I think at the primary level they need to kind of reduce some stuff just to make it seem like, the fact that the court said, well, each primary can, or each convention can.
Yeah, Iowa can do a caucus.
Yeah,
New Hampshire can do a primary.
We definitely need it, because election is the most American thing, right? That's the thing that the founding fathers, who, by the way, the founding fathers only really allowed themselves to vote, but that's
right.
Not, that's a different story,
right?
Right?
The idea was power with the people,
Yeah, exactly. Which actually, I'm going to touch on the founding fathers when we go into our other caucus, which Zino, I don't know if he made this. He says he doesn't know if he doesn't think he made this, but that was the Georgia runoff. Now we're going to talk about what somebody called the sedation caucus. Sedition. I'm sorry. I like sedation. So sedition caucus. So
like putting people to sleep.
they sure as hell weren't putting anybody to sleep, I don't think.